first thing they have to do, if they intend to bid, then they must go to our desk there and get a bidding slip and a number, so that every person who wants to bid has a number against their name, and when they bid, all they have to do is to hold up the number. I jot it down on the sales slip, and hence we've got the name.
So when they're out there in that massive crowd that I know that you will have here later, you're up there, you've got your good friend up there spotting with you as well. Now, is there any chance that some poor chap here that's got a scratch on the head is going to go away with a bike? You don't...
Well, it's not, doesn't often happen, in fact, very, very rarely, because there's no point in knocking it down to somebody who doesn't really want it at the end of the day. So I think that's a rarity.
So if I were coming along here today, standing out there, I found the bike I want, and you're out there, you have it on the screen, showing the bike up there.
Yes.
Now, what have I got to do? I just got to be aware of how much I'm going to go with the bidding.
Well, you probably have to have a good idea in your own mind as to what you're going to bid up to, and well, stick with it. But obviously, the auctioneer hopes that in the spirit of the auction house, you know, they'll get carried away a bit.
The prices will go
yes,
down.
that's the whole beauty of an auction.
Well, let's hope you have a good auction, Peter. Thanks for those few words of advice,
yes.
And let's hope all goes well.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
120, at 120, 130, 140, 140, 140, 150, fresh place 160, 160, 170, 170, 170, at 170, at 170, 80, 180, 190, 190, at 190, at 190, at 190, at 190, you're all missing it, at 190, 200, at 200, 210, at 210, at 210, make no mistake, 'tis for sale, at 210. At 210, the bidding right in the middle, I'm going to sell then at £210. All finished at 210. Number 408, thank you very much.
Well, whether you've decided to build your own bike or buy one complete, one day, as sure as eggs, you're going to have to come to an Auto Jumbo. Here we have a typical example of an Auto Jumbo that goes on in many parts of the country, and interesting places they are to visit, and so necessary. But if you go to an Auto Jumbo looking for a part, no matter how rare, you've got to adopt the attitude, it's out there somewhere. Somebody's got it somewhere, and some parts are difficult to find. So it means rummaging around all these stalls and all these boxes. But sometimes the parts are more plentiful. Make up your mind if you want to find an original part or a pattern part. So a lot of people do pattern parts. If you're going to buy something like a magneto, make sure it works, or if it doesn't work, can you take it back to the stall holder? Bear all these things in mind, because behind us we've got some stall holders with piles and piles of apparent junk, but it's all useful stuff, and we have the specialists there. Let's have a look at some of these specialists. Something else to consider, an essential part of your equipment with a classic bike is a manual. Often you've got a friend who can tell you when something's gone wrong and how to put it right, but there's nothing better than have the manual appropriate to your bike that you can sit down and have a read through. Some of these manuals are brief, some are rider's manuals, some are very extensive, but they certainly pay for themselves, so make sure you've got yourself a good book about your bike. Another very important part about buying a bike is the documentation. You've got to have your logbook, and of course eventually you've got to get your certificate of insurance and MOT, but you've got to have an identity with that bike. Make sure that when you're buying it that you've got the correct documents and the engine and frame number on there. They're correct. It's too late. Once you've taken it home, you might never find the person you bought it off again. Very important thing are documents. Don't worry too much about if the number plate has been altered along the line, because a lot of people sell their numbers and they re-register them. If you find that the registration doesn't comply with the year that the bike was manufactured, you can get now, through your local authority, an age-related number with no cost and very little trouble. So we wish you luck in that direction. Another thing, a very fine bit of advice is, once you've got it, you've restored it, you're enjoying it, make sure you keep it. Get a good lock to put on it, and wherever you keep it, make sure it's secure. They're very, very valuable to crooked fingers or motorcycles. Make sure you keep yours. Throughout the day, I hope we've covered the many points necessary for you to go out and do your shopping. There are many pitfalls. I hope we've put you around those, and that you'll become one of the people among the thousands in the world that enjoy classic motorcycling. So put all the facts together, get out there and find yourself a classic bike.